Alright, since I gotta get my vocal intonation range back up to sport since I don't have a dog to talk to anymore. I used to be really good for directional and projectile vocal range. I do have this new podcast microphone that hooks up to my little Chromebook setup here. So far, so good on the Chromebook. The trade-off is I don't have an excuse to just for poor performance anymore. I have to put a little more intentionality in the tonicity of my tonalities and the brevity of my bread. Baking. Alright, so I covered the one set of fives, right? The ocean, openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, and amicability, neuroticism. We're gonna skip, I think that was number 2 on my 5x5 scale. We're gonna skip to the political representation, stratification approaches that are most prevalent to the open country that is campaign spending and voting ballots, if that's something you do. Anywho, so there are different theories to how sovereignty is ideologically expressed through the mechanisms of public institutions. The first and foremost, the most emphasized approach laid out in the Constitution by the Founding Fathers is the protective democracy model, which is premised on the fact that human beings are corrupt kings and lazy peasants. They need a system of insurance, assurance of insurance for what is good, and a limited government kind of we got 10 out of 15 kids on the playground on our team, we're gonna kill the other 5. And so there's the obvious or the implied from that analogy, the protection for human civil liberties, civil rights, the foremost of which is private property, protecting the capital, the forms of material currency, whether paper, digital, or energy related. There's a whole lot of emphasis on limiting the powers of government, and the foremost underlying approach or mechanism of democratic representation since day one: protect, limit government, separation of powers, and what's the other one? Separation of powers and checks and balances. So if say you got 2 radically opposed political candidates, and the Democrat wins, but the Republican says, hey, 4 years, we're coming back for you, this ain't over here. And they say the Democrat passes a 1,500-page healthcare Litigation, legislative, litigation prevention, and efficient allocation mechanism for what is a, well, privately invested and funded but publicly regulated service. And that's blurring the lines a little bit, right? Because you have these schools of thought of medicine and cultures and traditions that are a lot older than Obamacare and have been around for a lot more of the plague and all these cyclical, not exactly within a year, but maybe like a century kind of things, tendencies, trajectories, yippity. Droughts, you lose the food and the medicine simultaneously. That's kind of curveball, knuckleball. Yeah, so you have a whole lot of investment in this one. One policy that in 4 years, if they don't keep the tables turning, is just toilet paper, or like a consortium of not gerrymandering but filibusters. One of those fancy and federal shutdowns and the return of the sabbaticists, all furloughed for the foreseeable future. Well, turns out that is a intentional effect, because where protective philosophy is a obstruction to radical and equitable change. And when I say equitable, I mean equitable in terms of the stakeholders having a share of their ownership, their private property reflected in the process of policy enactment. Okay, that's a little bit dense even for my knitting routine of policies. But yeah, basically they wanted to slow down change and make it a buyer's market for well, that what isn't that kind of gray area between state and private interest. So that's I mean, it's not the most commonly associated intention when we're talking about civil liberties or democratic staples, is that, well, the founders were not just revolutionary tea dumpers, but wealthy, vested capitalists who didn't want their new economic frontier to be well, fed to the hordes of hungry and kind of flabbergasted arrivals into the new world. They wanted to get the rank and file established and maintained, so the Day to day was set up straight, and the prospecting of, say, 50, 100 years down the road was a manageable chess game. So there's that. There's also the, how does it go? Pluralist, participatory, and developmental models of modern democracy, and that's four. I think the book I have doesn't describe a fifth. Where is it? It's around here somewhere. I'll reference it because citations are important. Politics is a science, and it's plagiarism is bad. So moving on to the pluralist, is that, well, number 5. I'm gonna throw it in there, and I don't know. I was reading something about the great monarchies of past days, and there was a page and a half in, there was a lot of acclaim for Louis XIV in France as the absolute monarchic manifestation in a king, as queen to king, mother to sons, like 77 years, I think it was. This down with the king, no kings protests. America is it the first? I guess so. The first. Well, there may be some merit to monarchic rule that. Well, when you compare democracies to dictatorships, all those blockages, all those limits of power slow things down. Whereas if you're the king or the monarch and you seize the moment, you can steamroll if you demonstrate the merit and can live up to it. But monarchic is I don't know. I'm just gonna leave it at that. But yeah, the pros to dictatorship. Like if you, okay, I can. That's pluralism, pluralities. The philosophy that policy is kind of stratified through different groups. So age groups, economic, socioeconomics, tax bracket kind of divisions, racial, religion, whatever tribe or hive you represent, is a natural way of distributing and exchanging sovereignty in a democratic and capitalist system. So there are some considerations for like minority protections. You don't want all the majority to control everything all the time. Like if like rich people are a minority, whenever the poor want, they're just gonna ransack the treasury building, right? Or theoretically, or that's, you can say, that's a rich person theory or a demonstrated tendency of the poor uprisings. That's more of a personal valuation philosophy. We'll get to those. Those come later. But the pluralities. Oh my gosh, it's kind of like. I guess in Britain they have a lot of, or in the UK, the EU now. There's a lot of pluralities, and then there's like the upper house of parliament, which is like the representative of the royal perspective. And there's two houses in the legislature that kind of work it out. Like we have the Senate and the House of Representatives, where there is a disproportionate representative per individual, and there's kind of a arching authoritative or like that's another limit to the stream of power, because if you elect a majority in the House of Representatives, it can do whatever it wants with the laws. It turns into topsy-turvy kind of I don't want to get into descriptive language. That can be misleading. But anyway, if you look at like an issue like healthcare, there are traditionally old people are the ones who are most invested in healthcare policy, because they're the ones who need the major procedures, while young people receive the most subsidy in terms of education, because they're the ones who go to the public schools. So there's different scales of agency that are all interconnected, and they oppose each other. So when the healthcare interest wants a subsidy, there's a push to yes, affirm their position, but also oppose the other education imperatives or prerogatives of the day. And then there is the participatory, which is, well, what can I get out of it? You get out of a system, according to this theory of representative democracy, whatever you put into it. Like, you can go out and vote, you can go out and join advocacy groups, you can be engaged in the different public, education, healthcare, but like military services. One of the principled expenditures and necessitative instrumental services or purposes of collective government, which as history or recent history has repeatedly demonstrated, the return on the military utility for democracies is they're far more effective. People are fighting for themselves and representing their own their own interests, their own political sovereignty through the mechanisms that exist in that agency of government, and that process is it requires participation, thus the title participatory. You could say the same about government programs at any degree, as opposed to what is just a consumer economy kind of vote with your dollars approach. And to go to the last one for this, this scale of measuring a sovereignty in a political form of representation. There's a developmental, which is premised on the same approach as the participatory, except it takes the essential notion that you kind of have to go out and participate to enact or extract a sovereign unit of agency, or to get what you want. You have to democracy is flourishes in the development of these engaging systems. So or these participatory systems, you shouldn't only go out and get what you want from it. You should promote the development of participatory systems, whether it's openness in education or healthcare, free choice for pursuing whatever preference or whatever subsidy that your somewhat is allocated to you indirectly. You kind of just have to do some elbowing at the table kind of approach. Or if you want to have a traditionally some people pay as much money in college tuition for their kids to go to Catholic school, and that's because, well, you can't have a religiously centered education according to the Constitution because of some rough history, but you can choose to go that route. You just have to, it has to be cultivated if you want religious education to be a option. Then it requires developing the framework that isn't just state-based. It requires the participation and coordinated consensus of the stakeholders who want to see that outcome, and it does come with a price tag, but there's a price, and then there's the cost of the alternative, right? If I'm going to be a cynic for public education, which in California, I mean, probably brass tacks is close to the private school until like college. However, that's because of when I say protective, I don't know. It's not really a classification scale. It's more of a what is the subjective considerations for these 5 different measures of ubiquitously applicable tools for integrating the representative standard of democratic procedures. Oh wow, I did it in 25 minutes that time. I'm speeding up.